what's up everybody, and welcome back to another video. So on my last video I did a overview of my frag tank and a makeover that I gave it because I was just kind of running out of room with my grow out colonies and my frags. So I removed my frag racks in there and did some rearranging, and it definitely is a lot better than what it was before, so I have a lot more room to grow things out and to put more frags in that frag tank. What I wanted to cover in today's video is more about the frag tank, and I wanted to talk about algae in a frag tank and how it is possible to actually have algae in a frag tank connected to a display tank where you have no algae. So, the tips that I'm about to talk about in terms of preventing algae in a frag tank certainly apply to a standalone frag tank that's not connected to the display tank, and it also applies just to standalone display tanks. But I wanted to focus on frag tanks and algae and how to prevent algae in frag tanks. So, what I talked about in the prior video was circulation, and that is really, really important with a frag tank. And I like to keep bare bottom frag tanks because, if you have sand in a frag tank, it's going to really get blown around and cause a sandstorm. So with bare bottom, you could really crank a lot more flow versus one tank that has sand. So it is really important to have a lot of that flow, and it keeps the detritus off the bottom of the tank, and by keeping that suspended in the water column, it gets removed, and that way you don't get the buildup of nutrients. So that's one important thing. Another really, really important thing is to have a good cleanup crew. I have both the Trochus snails as well as Astreus snails, and they do a really good job of mowing down any problematic algae, especially hair algae. So I highly recommend snails. It's also good to have hermit crabs in a frag tank. The red-legged ones and the blue-legged ones are good. I also recommend emerald crabs. If you have bubble algae in the tank, those will help to keep that at bay. It's also very helpful to have, and this is not an algae issue, but if you have Aiptasia, I always find it's great to have a couple of peppermint shrimp in the tank to keep the Aiptasia out of the tank. That's a natural way to get rid of it. So the other really, really important thing in terms of a cleanup crew is to have a good set of fish that are herbivores in a frag tank. And I have a lot of tangs in my frag tank. I've got a yellow tang, a yellow coli tang, as well as a sailfin tang, and I also have a foxface rabbitfish. So I think the more fish that you can have in a frag tank, a display tank, whatever, that are herbivores like tangs is just a really smart idea to help nip any problem in the bud and prevent any algae from growing on out. So fish are certainly important. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you don't want to overfeed the fish, because there's a lot of phosphate in fish food. So if you overfeed those fish, then that could be potentially a problem. Another thing I want to talk about are frag racks, and a lot of people use egg crate, and there's two types. You got the black, and then you have the white egg crate. So there's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there that if you have egg crate in your frag tank, that there's the potential for phosphate to leach out of that egg crate, especially if you have white egg crate. So I don't know if there's any scientific proof about that. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But I like to err on the side of caution, so I use acrylic frag racks to try to have no potential for that phosphate to leach into the water column. What I do like to do is to soak my acrylic frag racks in my sump in the tank water to let bacteria colonize the frag racks. So that way it would help in terms of preventing any problematic algae from gaining hold on the frag racks if you already have the bacteria that are colonizing, and hopefully you're spurring on and encouraging coralline algae growth, which will certainly help to prevent the algae from growing on the frag racks or in the tank. So that'll do it for my tips in terms of preventing algae in a frag tank. As I mentioned initially, strong flow is really important, as well as a good cleanup crew. And also you don't want to introduce phosphates inadvertently into a frag tank. So anyway, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. I also want to mention my reef keeping master class. It's an online class. It's a very immersive experience. I'll drop a link in the video description below. And if you're interested in purchasing some of my SPS Frags, I'll drop another link in the video description below for my SPS Frag store. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.